Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into an entirely hidden world. It's highly complex, it operates completely under our radar, and it's literally beneath our feet right now. We are talking about the invisible biological engine that quietly runs the life support systems of our entire planet. So let's just jump right in. Imagine you're on a hike, and you spot a mushroom sitting quietly on a rotting log. What exactly are you looking at? Is it just a strange leafless plant? Maybe some kind of really slow, silent animal? Well, actually, scratch that. It's neither. You're looking at a representative of its own completely bizarre, entirely distinct kingdom of life. Here is our roadmap for unpacking these hidden secrets. We'll quickly hit 1. Meet the fungi. 2. Anatomy and digestion. 3. Reproduction and growth. 4. The hidden language. 5. Ecosystems and symbiosis. And finally, 6. Impact on humans. All right, section 1. Meet the fungi. Let's figure out what these things actually are. Okay, so the crucial starting point here is that fungi are generally multicellular eukaryotes. But what makes them truly wild is how they fuel themselves. You see, they don't produce their own food through photosynthesis like autotrophic plants do, but they also don't ingest and digest their food internally like heterotrophic animals do. They occupy this completely unique functional space on the tree of life. So instead of making or swallowing their meals, many fungi are what we call saprophytes. They rely on saprophytic nutrition, which basically means they get their nutrients directly from dead organic matter and waste. Since they literally live inside or right next to their food source, they act as nature's ultimate decomposers. And honestly, without them constantly breaking down all that dead material, the critical cycling of nutrients in our environment would just completely grind to a halt. Moving on to section 2, anatomy and digestion. Let's look at how they actually work. Down at the cellular level, fungal cells are eukaryotic, meaning they've got a nucleus, cell membranes, cytoplasm, all those standard organelles. But check out their cell walls. Unlike plants, they're built primarily out of specific polysaccharides like cellulose and chitin. And if the word chitin rings a bell, it's because it's literally the exact same tough, armored material found in the exoskeletons of insects and crabs. How crazy is that? Now, these unique cells link up to form the filamentous body of the fungus, which is made of these incredibly fine, thread-like strands called hyphae. And these hyphae are absolutely the workhorses of the fungus. They grow outward from their tips, just constantly branching and tunneling through whatever it is they're feeding on, whether that's a rotting log, damp soil, you name it. We call that material they grow through their substrate. And what's super cool is that those tiny, often totally invisible hyphae actually create the structures we can see. A single thread might just look like a bit of loose fuzz, but when the timing is right, they pack themselves together so incredibly densely that they create a thallus structure. So that classic mushroom cap and stem you see popping up above ground, that is quite literally just billions of microscopic hyphal threads woven tightly together. Now, when we zoom out and talk about the entire collective mass of these hyphae, that vast branching network spreading out beneath the soil or deep inside a tree, we call the whole shebang a mycelium. And the wildest part? That entire sprawling mycelial network, which can sometimes stretch for actual acres, is the product of the germination and continuous growth of just one single microscopic spore. So, how does this sprawling, blind network actually eat? Well, they literally eat their environment from the outside in. First, the hyphae secrete these super powerful digestive enzymes directly into the surrounding organic matter. This sets off a hydrolysis reaction, which basically breaks down complex carbon compounds outside the fungus's body. Only after the environment has been reduced to this kind of molecular soup do the hyphal cells absorb the nutrients. And as they absorb, they grow longer, pushing even further into their substrate. All right, section 3, reproduction and growth. Let's see how they spread this network. Fungi reproduce using a highly effective strategy called broadcasting. Just look at this puffball fungus. It mass produces spores in absolutely staggering numbers and flings them out in this dramatic smoky cloud. From there, they just hitch a ride on air currents, wind, or even splashes of rain. It is purely a numbers game, sending millions of these tiny genetic capsules out into the wild. But here's the catch. When those broadcasted spores finally land, they're not just going to grow anywhere. They will only germinate if the conditions are exactly right.
Specifically, they absolutely need wet environments. Why? Because that moisture is essential for those external enzymatic reactions we just talked about. They literally cannot digest their food dry. Plus, they prefer dark environments because their delicate cellular structures really need protection from the damaging ultraviolet radiation of the sun.
Which brings us to Section 4, the hidden language. How do they coordinate all this in the dark?
It turns out hyphae secrete and respond to a hidden chemical language through a process called chemotaxis. And it goes two ways. Positive chemotaxis happens when chemicals actively attract hyphal strands to grow toward each other, which is super useful when different strands need to link up to reproduce. On the flip side, negative chemotaxis triggers an avoidance response. The hyphae basically repel each other to make sure they aren't crowding the same feeding spot. This ensures the network spreads out perfectly to maximize nutrient absorption across the whole substrate. It's like traffic control, but with chemistry.
Let's look at Section 5, ecosystems and symbiosis. This is where we see their massive global impacts.
Now, sometimes this ecosystem interaction is straight up destructive. Take parasitic fungi, for example. Instead of just peacefully decomposing dead waste, they steal their nutrients directly from a living host. They literally infiltrate the bodies of insects, cause disease, hijack their nervous systems, and eventually sprout their reproductive structures right out of the host's body. Yeah, it's a pretty brutal reminder of the sheer biological power fungi are packing.
But conversely, fungi can also engage in some truly beautiful cooperative symbiosis. A perfect example is a lichen. I know it looks like a single plant, but a lichen is actually a fungus living in one mass together with an alga. It's the ultimate roommate situation. The fungal component acts like a sponge, absorbing vital nutrients and moisture from the harsh environment, while the photosynthetic alga uses the sun to produce sugars that feed them both.
And this lichen partnership is ridiculously tough. They act as absolutely crucial pioneer organisms in the sequence of ecological succession. Because they can survive in the harshest places, like on bare, solid rock, dead branches, or really poor soil, they actually slowly break down those rocks over time to create brand new soil, paving the way for other plants to eventually take root. They're even a dependable, vital food source for certain Arctic herbivores trying to scrape by in barren landscapes.
Finally, Section 6, Impact on Humans. Let's look at our fungal friends and foes.
Depending on their specific classification, fungi both sustain and seriously challenge human survival. On the plus side, Basidiomycetes give us those delicious mushrooms we eat. Ascomycetes give us luxury truffles and the yeast that is absolutely essential for baking bread. And Deuteromycetes are crucial for making certain cheeses and natural dyes. But there's a flip side. Basidiomycetes also cause crop-destroying smuts on corn. Zygomycetes cause soft rot in our veggies and that annoying bread mold, and Deuteromycetes are the culprits behind human ailments like athlete's foot and ringworm. So yeah, we are locked in a very constant, very complex relationship with this kingdom. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you're out on a morning walk and you step over a simple little mushroom, ask yourself, are you just looking at a pretty bit of woodland scenery, or are you actually looking at the tiny, visible tip of an incredible, hidden alien empire? One that is actively communicating, digesting, and quite literally shaping the world right beneath your feet. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring those hidden worlds out there.